to be veering rapidly towards a trade war. Indications from the White House that the US will soon increase tariffs on steel and aluminium imports have already provoked a backlash, including threats of countermeasures from key trading partners. But the Trump administration isn't backing down.
We're behind on every single country. Trade wars aren't so bad. Do you understand what I mean by that? When we're down by 30 billion, 40 billion, 60 billion, 100 billion, the trade war hurts them, doesn't hurt us.
The truth is quite the opposite. Trade wars are bad and easy to lose.
It will hurt the European Union. It will put thousands of European jobs in jeopardy, and it has to be met by a firm and proportionate response.
The proposed 25% tax increase on steel imports and 10% on aluminium has also provoked an outcry from many industry leaders in the US. A whole range of businesses that require the metals for manufacturing will face higher costs and potentially have to cut jobs. The EU has said that it will retaliate with tariff hikes on American goods such as jeans, motorbikes, bourbon whiskey, peanut butter and orange juice. Trump then in turn hit back. He tweeted to say that should the EU introduce countermeasures, he will increase tariffs on imports of European cars. The bloc's officials say that would cost America thousands of jobs. And amid a chorus of criticism of Washington's protectionist policies, the president's own chief economic advisor has resigned, stating his opposition to the initiative. Well, a lot to take in, but for more insight, let's now cross live to Edward Stringham, President of the American Institute for Economic Research. Thanks for coming onto the programme, Edward. More controversy that we're seeing now. Good to have you on. Now, do you believe these tariffs will have the impact Donald Trump expects? It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts, because the figures seem quite big. 25% increase on steel imports and 10% on aluminium.
I mean, besides being anti-American, being against American interests, tariffs being bad for American consumers, tariffs being bad for American corporations, I would say tariffs are the best thing ever. They're going to solve all of our world's problems right now. It's just a disaster. I can't believe we're even having this debate. Adam Smith was really right when he wrote that we should have trade with all. Trade is mutually beneficial. And 200-something years later, we're turning the clock back, and somehow we're going to be producing everything ourselves. It just doesn't make any sense from an economic point of view.
Yeah, I mean, what are going to be the repercussions? If the US goes ahead with imposing import tariffs, will this mean a squeeze on wages and jobs at those manufacturers who are affected?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be bad for American corporations. We're going to have have higher prices for manufacturing things in the United States. That's going to be terrible for American corporations. That's going to be bad for American consumers. And then if you look at it around the world, why do we want to be upsetting our trading partners? And it's not going to be good for corporations around the world. It's not going to be good for American companies that want to sell abroad if there's now a trade war. Why is that good for European consumers when they can't buy American products? Why is that good for American producers if they can't sell American products? So it's just really all around bad. The idea that we're openly talking about a war, a trade war being good, it's just going to be very counterproductive. Something that all economists pretty much all agree on. This is not a good idea.
What is Donald Trump thinking, though? I mean, he's a well-known businessman, and you've just mentioned the negatives, obviously, on employment, manufacturers, exporters. So it's not beneficial to America. How can he be even thinking about this policy?
I think it's this old, outdated economic idea called mercantilism. I think he's been good on lowering regulations and taxes. That's great. But the idea that he's going to be restricting American corporations, who they can buy from, restricting American consumers, who they can buy from, this is just not good business. It's this old-style nationalism, what they're going to somehow decrease imports. But, you know, the bottom line is imports are great. Imports mean all countries are sending goods to American manufacturers or goods to American consumers in terms of whether that's Ford buying steel or Caterpillar buying steel, Boeing buying steel, or Miller Coors buying aluminum. These are just good all around. And he's got this kind of crazy mindset. We're just going to prevent this trade deficit from happening. I think that we should be calling it a goods surplus. We've got a great system going on right now, and the idea we're going to stop this is just doesn't make any sense from any economic theory I've ever heard.
Okay, Edward, I can see how perturbed you are. Edward Stringham, the president of the American Institute for Economic Research.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little. Thanks very much for coming onto the program.